Keaton enters the kingdom. Here's your look at the new Beast Kingdom Batman, the 1989 Michael Keaton DAH-056 Batman. A cult classic, 1989, saw the unleashing of Tim Burton's Batman in moviegoers who were until then only used to the camp 1960s television show. A new dark and unworldly take on the character introduced fans to a new, broodier superhero. Played by the enigmatic Michael Keaton, 1989's Batman brought to screen a troubled yet determined character that was ready to sacrifice it all to save Gotham City. Whilst Batman asks the criminals to relay a message to their friends, I'd like to thank the folks over at Beast Kingdom that did provide this sample of the dynamic action heroes DAH-056 Michael Keaton Batman, and we can have a look at this review. The figure, FYI, is available right now through various online sites and comic book stores. If you're one that like to buy your stuff from brick and mortar stores, he should be available right now. Following to that, let's grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Right to the very top of the pointed cowl I go. The figure of Batman stands almost 8 inches. In fact, he's about 7 3/4 of an inch tall, or that makes a figure that's about 19.5 centimeters in height. To come included with the figure, first we'll have a look at the display stand. I do like the way they've handled the display stand. I mean, yes, it's still the same shaped stand as we've gotten with other dynamic action hero figures that we've looked at in the past, but what's done differently, what's done nicely, is that they've actually printed the 89 Batman logo here on the top, which when I first saw it as a kid, only seeing this as the teaser poster, I thought it was a pair of teeth, top and bottom teeth. I knew nothing apparently as a kid. But what I do know, though, is that it does say Batman here printed on the front in the same matching yellow that's also printed in the image on the top. The stand itself is simple in design and yet rather effective. I mean, you basically just have a post system that attaches onto the display stand. You just line the peg up, fit it into the hole, and you're good to go. The waist does clip, or the waist clip, I should say, does open and close. So then you can take yourself your Batman figure, move the cape out of the way, of course, and then you can take the stand and clip it around Batman's waist. Although, really, the figure stands fine on his own. But I gotta say, like, the display stand adds a little bit extra pizzazz when it comes to displaying him. Regarding the rest of the figure's accessories, Batman comes included with 5 pairs of interchangeable hands. Hope you guys were sitting when I said that. 5 pairs of interchangeable hands, but what do those hands entail? Well, first of all, we can move the drapes out of the way to reveal underneath Batman's cape, which is a really nice cape also we'll talk more about in a moment, that Batman does have closed fists. I mean, really, when you consider all the other cool things that the figure comes included with, closed fists will not be the one thing that's going to be holstered or attached onto the figure's forearms. Rather, instead, the figure also comes included with a pair of gripping hands. All of the hands molded nicely. It has even, again, the lines that he would have had in the movie, in the gloves in the movie. Those are nicely done. All, again, just molded here in black plastic, but these would certainly help to hold some of the smaller accessories, like the shurikens, like the gas capsules, like even the Batarang. Oh, wait, what? Talk more about that in a moment. Figure also comes included with a pair of relaxed hands. And again, you've got still the molded black plastic, no paint at all, as spoke of here, but still, it's a nice looking pair of hands. Again, nice. It's always nice to have relaxed hands, too. The figure also comes included with kind of even more relaxed hands, just to kind of show you the difference between the two. Now, these hands, to also be fair, are also good for holding the grapple gun. So I really should have also said that these are also for the holding of the grapple gun. But again, you can kind of see there's a difference slightly between the two hands. These are a little more relaxed, not likely to hold as much. These that have the C shape are more designated for holding the grapple gun. If you, though, prefer your grapple gun to also have a trigger firing finger, then they also have these hands also as well. Yeah, 5 pairs of interchangeable hands. While we're on the topic of these hands, let's just slide the other ones out of the way. We're going to bring those back in a moment. The figure comes included just off to this neighboring head. Figure comes included with the grapple gun. Grapple gun, nicely presented here. Differently now, you got a little bit of gold paint added to the end to an otherwise all molded black plastic accessory. Like in the movie, though, it does detach. although there really isn't a place to actually store on the figure. In the movie, though, and in some of the cases before, usually you could flip the cape around or peel the cape away from the back of his body, and there would be like a section here on the back that you'd be able to then attach the grapple line. There's no place here on the figure, so your really only option is to really display it either in the figure's hands or to leave the figure's accessory out altogether. The figure also comes included with a batarang. The batarang does not fold up, but what it does have at least is a string. The string attaches onto a looplet here, which I guess you could technically attach onto Batman's finger, if you want to do it that way. There doesn't seem to be any other thing that I can think of that this little ringlet would attach onto. There's not like a little section on his utility belt or anything along those lines. But he does have, again, the batarang. And always nice to have yourself a batarang with Batman. While we're also talking about the batarang, you can use then the gripping hand that we looked at earlier, and you can easily attach the batarang into Batman's grip, just like that. The other thing the figure also comes included with, I'm just going to take this out for right now, he comes included with a battering ram, the thing that he projects out from his forearm when he's battling the goon in the alleyway. The thing about it, though, is there doesn't seem to be a place that I can see, at least, that attaches onto the figure's forearm. I thought maybe, for example, there may have been like a hole in the hand or something along those lines. But there isn't a section big enough that I can find where you can actually take this. Unless there is supposed to be more of a spaced gap where you could actually take. I mean, there's just a little bit of clearance. A gap space between like the gauntlet area and his wrists. But the plastic is so thin, I really wouldn't want to force against that. Even if you can fit it in there. The plastic, at least for the battering ram, I think is too thin that I wouldn't want to put a lot of pressure to it and run the risk of snapping it. One other thing that the figure also comes included with, one of my favorite gadgets, even though he really doesn't use it much in the movie, he also comes included with the long rope grappling hook, the thing that he comes down, kind of transcends from the top of the building, smashes through the window, and then he leaps down or falls down, and then these extend out and proceed to shoot lines across both ends of the building. Then, of course, he just zips out with Vicky Vale in tow. This does actually clip on, so we'll just move these back in here for a second quickly. Then first to show you, the grapple hooks are actually these little tiny points painted nicely in silver. And then you've actually got the bottom of it actually nicely done here in gold. This, I noticed, does detach easy. There's holes, of course, provided here in the back. And then you just take the two prongs and you fit them in place. Maybe the reasoning why they do this is so it'd be a lot easier just to attach this on first to Batman's arm, and then from there attach the grapple line onto that. That's my only guess, at least. The figure also comes included with smaller things I'm most likely to lose if I'm not too careful, like, for example, grapple or gas canisters. We're finished talking about the grapple gun. Tiny little gas capsules. He actually gets 3 of these. But there is no place on the figure's body where you can actually store these. So just be careful you don't lose them. They seem to be all identical to one another, sharing all the same amount of silver, lower end to the bottom of the capsule. And then right at the very tip, there's also a little bit of silver that gets afforded there as well. Batman also comes included with a couple of shurikens. And it seems to be, again, a case where everything comes in 3s, at least the smaller things. The tiny little bat shurikens. Don't really remember much of him being using them in the movie. Likely uses them to smash lights or throw them at goons or whatever. He gets 3 of those. One of my little fun favorite thing that he comes included with is a little remote control. Of course, they use it to control the batarang, or not the batarang, he uses to control the Batmobile. And a little small touch of detail is that they actually did put, I don't know if you can actually see it or not, a tiny little bat emblem there, as well as, again, the section where he speaks into. That's painted also in silver. The figure also comes included with a bomb detonator. And speaking of silver, this is nothing but silver. You can see, again, the way they've nicely painted this. It may not even have been painted. It might likely have been even molded in the silver plastic, but it still gets the job done, and it's a nice little accessory to come included with the figure. Then on to Batman's swappable things. Like, for example, the figure does come with a different cowl piece. And you may ask yourself, well, what's the difference between the two? Look at the eyes. The eyes. The eyes on the defaulted head sculpt, which we'll spend a lot of time talking about in a moment, you can see does have the eyes facing forward. However, if you do prefer your Batman to be looking side-eyed, then you have this head sculpt here as well. Cowls seem to be identical. Nothing about it that I can see, at least, does change, other than, again, the eyes. Obviously, anyone would be stepping up right now to say that this one's also missing the lower mouth. The mouth pieces are also swappable, too. Again, to change the heads, all you have to do is just take the head, pop it off the ball joint, then take yourself the new side-eyed head and plug it back into place. And now Batman, short of a mouth that's missing, does have the little side eye thing going. How cool is that, the fact that they would have included it? As I did say, though, Batman comes included with some mouth guard pieces as well. And the defaulted one that I have right now sort of has Batman with not quite a frown, but certainly a more serious look on his face. I will say, like, the head sculpt does look good. From the side, it does look a lot like Michael Keaton. I feel almost as if you look at it a little more further forward, straight forward, I feel maybe like the mouth could have been a little tad higher. But it does certainly read to me at least like Michael Keaton from the sides. Good looking head sculpt from Beast Kingdom. Again, this one does have the eyes straight forward. And to change the mouth, by the way, it's a little harder to do. You kind of have to get your finger underneath here and not drop the mouth in the process. I know where it is. It's just down there. And then he comes with one that's a little bit more of a happier expression on his face. And then he also comes with one, let's pop that off, where again kind of has, I guess this would be, of the three, the most neutral expressioned face. But again, like the sculpting is really good on this one. I'm really, really happy with how this one turned out. For the purpose of this review, we're going to kind of sidetrack the side-eyed Batman. We're just going to remove that for right now. And we're going to put this back in place in a moment. What I did, though, want to do is I wanted to remove the cape altogether. We're going to come back to this, obviously, because that's going to complete the look of Batman. I did want to remove the cape and the head to show you what the body looks like underneath. They have used several mediums, actually, when producing this, different materials. The front of his torso is actually hard plastic. The sides of his arms and shoulders is also hard plastic. But what they've done is they've, like in the movie, actually attached it onto a more faux leather suit underneath. You can see the way they've actually attached the arms here, attached the shoulder. Actually, this is all one piece here. Attach this onto the suit that's underneath. And like in the movie, you can see how it's sort of sandwiched. So the back has the muscular part of the plate. The front has the same. And then they've sort of sandwiched it with a seamed suit underneath. Really cool the way they've done that. And then, again, it looks a lot like the movie, right? It looks a lot more like the movie when we've got the cowl and we've also got the cape in place. He does also have the utility belt. It looks a little off, like a little off to the side. Not off in the sense of the way they've colored or sculpted it, but it looks like, for me at least, like it's not quite centered. This lower half of his body is also softer plastic, but then again, what they've done is they've used an actual faux leather material for the suit that's underneath. You can see, again, the stitch lines on the inside. On the outside, it's a little more subtle, but again, like, it's really cool the way they've done this. Again, like this piece right here is like essentially a molded part that they would have attached on. I'm assuming they would have attached it on by glue, but it's pretty seamless to when you're looking at it that they didn't simply just use a plastic body, because they could have easily just done a plastic body. I mean, especially for the legs you'd be none the wiser. It's only really until you kind of look at the backside or kind of the inside of the legs that you see that there's actually a stitched suit inside. The kneecaps are also done the exact same way. The kneecaps I'm a little more worried about just when it comes to bending his knee, because I would imagine, again, they probably would have adhered the knees onto the suit. That bending the knees, I would hate to think the glue would come loose. I mean, right now it's fine. I don't know anyways with Batman 2. I don't know if I would really be bending the knee all that much. The figure does seem to possess a double hinge on the knee. But again, I don't know if that's adding too much stress to this part where the knee's going to start coming loose from the suit. Again, when it comes to the boots, like in the movie, you can see our sculpted sneakers, and then you would have just had the boot guard over top of it. Very, very cool, though. Let's go ahead and take all the rest of Batman's things going on here. We'll put back on the body here. First of which, just get a decapitated Batman. We'll leave it here for right now. Let's look at the cape. The cape, actually, I do like. The material is thin, but it's a good quality material that they've used. And actually, it does look like real leather. It does have stitched lines. Of course, it's a very wide cape also. Now, there's a wire frame, but there's a wire frame that only runs on the inside of this. Now, when we also have seen Batman figures before, sometimes they do also add those posts where you can run a post on the inside wire. There's usually like a little space in the seam that you can run a post through that if you want to have Batman with his wings fanned out. Can't really do it with this figure because the figure doesn't have any of those additional posts, but you can also just bring Batman's arms up and just have him holding the cape up that way. You can see how well the cape is stitched on the inside and how well and how good it looks on the outside. It's one of the better looking capes I've certainly seen for a smaller scale Batman. Anyways, though, let's just drape that over his shoulders. Pretty easy to do. It goes without saying, I'm sure, I'll say it anyways, that it does develop wrinkles for obvious reasons, but again, you can kind of just sort of fold itself in, and then go ahead and take Batman's head sculpt and put it over top of it. It does complete the look, and boy, it's a nice looking Batman. Head sculpt, again, like, there's nothing really I would have changed. I mean, again, like, the mouth does look a tad bit off, but for the rest of it, and certainly from other angles, it does read, for me at least, like Michael Keaton's. One of the better Michael Keaton figures we've gotten in a smaller scale like this. For the articulation, okay, let's run through that right now. Obviously, like in the movie, Batman can't really turn his head. They haven't, in this case, sculpted the head from the rest of the neck. So you're only really going to be able to rotate it by only rotating the entire torso, the entire cowl piece at the same time. Technically, it is on a ball joint, but I mean, obviously moving the head up, it's going to separate itself from the rest of the body. You can also move it back and forth, but the time that you do that, though, you end up just popping it back off the ball joint. So just plug that back into place. So technically, you can only really rotate Batman's head back and forth about the same limitations as Keaton would have had in the movie. Let's just bring the cape back here just a little bit. We can take those arms. Those arms do hinge out. I don't know if I would comfortably say 90 degrees, but you can get a little less than 90 degrees on Batman. Again, those seams are on the inside by the armpit area, but it doesn't look like I'm having any issues with the seams. They seem like they're pretty well stitched here. The figure's arms do move forward, do move back. He does have a bicep swivel, of course, in his bicep. Double hinge on the elbow, and then the hands rotate all the way around. One thing I did notice, though, also with the hands, is that the way they've got the post, essentially, the guard can actually come right off. So when it comes to actually putting new hands in, you really want to make sure that the guard is far enough back as you can get it, so you have enough clearance of that post. You can then attach the hand in place. And then, of course, we're just going to pop Batman's head back into place as well. Upper torso is on a ball joint. As for certainly the lower legs are on hinges, but you really don't want to split them too far because you're already pulling against the allowances, the stress allowances for the suit. The legs can go forward. And again, when I'm moving it forward, you can also see the way they've used a rubber lower half of his body to kind of give him a seamless look. The figure does have a slight swivel at the top of the thigh. Double hinge on the knee, but again, I don't know how well I would want to use a double hinge on the knee considering how close in quarters that knee is. And of course, the way it's attached to the rest of the suit. And then again, for the legs, this guard is a separate piece. It's essentially overlaid over top of his suit. But the feet, however, do move up and down this way. It has a nice ankle pivot, and there's actually toe articulation. I can't also believe as well that they've actually roughed up the undersoles of Batman's feet. So it does look like, of course, he's been walking around. Just to reach away, because I actually did drop the head in the process. Popping that back into place. It is a really good-looking Batman. And I would even say as well, like for the sizing and the scaling of what we get here with this Batman, it's probably one of the best Michael Keaton Batmans that we have gotten. I mean, it does have some problems. One, the smallest of which being the fact that the head does pop off frequently from the ball joint. But the way they've actually designed at least the cowl, that it just attaches right back into place. You can either use the one that we've been using for the majority of this review, or if you prefer Batman to have a side eye, Beast Kingdom also includes that as well. One thing I did want to point out here in final looks with the zip line and why it detaches the way that it does. You don't want to take the clamp part of the gray plastic and try to fit it over the wrist of Batman, because there's always the risk that that's going to snap. Rather, instead, take the hand and remove it from the socket first. Take the gray part of it, because of course the two parts detach, slide it over top of his gauntlet, put the fist then back in place, and then put the rest of the zip line attached to the gray part. And in that way, you're not going to have any issue with that potentially breaking on you. I don't know if necessarily I would be displaying Batman with the zip line, but considering he only really uses it one time and one time only in the '89 movie, I think for right now, I might actually just have him displayed with it. The care and the detail that Beast Kingdom put into this piece, I think gives us an all-around nice-looking Michael Keaton Batman that does look like Michael Keaton, maybe more from different angles than straight on, but I do feel like that looks like Keaton to some extent, and I think the suit's been handled well too, because I mean really, Beast Kingdom could have given us just an all-plastic molded body with a cape over top of it, and then the cowl sitting on top of the neck. But they didn't do that. Like in the movie, they would have actually taken the parts of his armor that Batman wears essentially, and they would have sandwiched it and put it over top of an actual rubber suit underneath. And they have done that similar here. Instead of actually using rubber as the material, they've used instead rather kind of a faux leather material. Cape's handled really well too, and even though some of the accessories work a little bit better than others, like I do wish that there was a section on the back of his utility belt where you could have attached at least the grapple line. He comes with at least all movie accurate accessories, some more recognizable than others. But what do you guys think though of the Michael Keaton Batman from the folks over at Beast Kingdom? Would you say this is one of the better Michael Keaton Batman figures we've gotten? Weigh in your thoughts down below in the comment section. And once again, I'd like to thank the folks over at Beast Kingdom that did provide this sample of the Batman 1989 Dynamic Action Heroes DAH-056 Michael Keaton Batman, which, by the way, again, is available right now as we speak, as this review is recording. It is available right now over on various online sites with a price point sitting around $120. For what you're getting here with a Batman figure, $120 I think is a good price. But what do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Certainly as well, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and do certainly want to stick around for more, then make sure if you haven't already done so that you hit the subscribe button down below and that you turn on as well the bell notification. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.